I believe that Declan Rice is Mikel Arteta's perfect midfielder, and there is a reason why he spent £105 million on him. That's what we're going to break down in this In Focus, the show that just has a little bit of a deeper dive, a little bit of a deeper look at the players that are performing brilliantly for us. And of course, any transfer targets. We know that January is just around the corner, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about then as well. But let's focus on Declan Rice. We have done one of these within the last 6-7 months because we signed him. We wanted to understand why we were signing him for £105 million. It's a massive outlay, but I think we're seeing so early on exactly why we did it. How often do you talk about an £105 million player strolling it? Not looking a bargain, let alone, living up to the price tag. The price tag's never mentioned. That is how brilliant Declan Rice has been, how brilliant he's been. But I want to try and break down why. I want to try and have a look at why he's Mikel Arteta's perfect midfielder, the impact he's had, not just on the pitch, tactically, but on the team in general. And it very much leans into this new philosophy that Mikel Arteta is trying to deploy. Something, I say trying to deploy, I think fairly successfully deploying, that is hopefully going to carry us towards a Premier League title and much more success. We're going to start, as we tend to do, by looking at the bigger picture. And let's just look at Arsenal's stats so far this season. Premier League position, they're sitting third, level on points with Liverpool, I believe a goal behind them on goal difference, and only a point behind Man City. Treble winners Man City. We are in good company. We finally leapfrogged Tottenham, who irritatingly did have a good start to the season, and Villa are there as well. That top five is very, very close, but Arsenal are right in the middle of it and right in the thick of a title race. We are top of our Champions League group stage. I was looking a little bit of risk after losing at Lens. It looked like Sevilla away, that could be tricky, but 2 wins on the bounce. Arsenal looking comfortable there. We've scored the 5th highest amount of goals in the league this season, which is a little bit of a contrast to last year where we were so free-flowing, brilliant. Felt like with every attack we'd score. This season, though, not quite as exciting, but look what we've gained defensively for it. We have the joint best defensive record in the league, and that's not just the numbers, in terms of goals conceded. Sometimes you can have a little bit of bad luck or whatever, or it's still early on to really kind of see how the underlying performances are going to, impact these kind of metrics and stats long term. But when you look at our underlying numbers, they look really good. And this isn't, basically, I'm sort of throwing shade at Liverpool there. We have a joint best defensive record with Liverpool, but I believe we look a lot better defensively than Liverpool. I think that will, show itself when we get to match week 20, 25. But they're doing their thing as well, and we are in the thick of the race with them. Now, Declan Rice has played 2 positions for Arsenal. I mean, it was 3 at West Ham. He played as a centre-back as well. But this season for Arsenal, he's played 10 times as a number 6, starting as a defensive midfielder, moving into then a double pivot with the inverting fullback. He's played 7 times, though, as a central midfielder / number 8. Now, that suggests quite a degree of balance. He's preferred as a 6, but that's maybe where Arteta sees him, but he's going to be used as an 8 every now and again. And you think of the big games where he's been, played, for example, Sevilla away, Newcastle away, Chelsea away, Man City at home, where he's played as an 8. You kind of go, okay, that kind of makes sense. He's going to use him in slightly different ways, Arteta. But I wonder if actually his position and his role is evolving. And I wonder whether when Mikel Arteta actually did have an idea to have him as a 6 and play him fairly infrequently as an 8, I wonder whether there is a trend towards him actually being the long-term number 8, especially when you look at links to players like Ruben Neves and Douglas Luiz. Okay, Douglas Luiz can play as an 8. He's been scoring goals for Villa. He's predominantly a 6, as is Ruben Neves, predominantly a 6. It makes you think that actually if Arsenal are going to go into the window to address midfield and get another body in, maybe they're going to want someone who can start in the absence of Thomas Partey and allow Rice to keep playing as a box-to-box. What else tells me this? The inclusion of Jorginho. But we'll come back to that in a sec. Let me show you this chart, which basically shows you the evolution of Declan Rice and his position in this short time at Arsenal. Now, in the Community Shield against City, he did play as the box-to-box with Partey and Ødegaard in that midfield too. But then Palace away started as a 6, Fulham at home as a 6, United at home as a 6, Everton away as 6, PSV, Tottenham, Bournemouth and Lens. He started in the number 6 for all those games. That's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games in a row he started as a number 6, and suddenly the idea of Declan Rice being a box-to-box number 8 was out of our heads. We thought he's not going to do it. One of Vieira, Smith Rowe, Havertz, they're just going to have to step up and be that guy. Then we get to City at home, which was the last time we played that opposition, City, that we saw him as a box-to-box. He returns to that role, but he's kept there. And you start to think, okay, that makes a little bit of sense, to be fair. Chelsea away, Sevilla away. You can see why for those 3 games, he wanted Declan Rice to have a more free role with another defensive option in there so he could have that solidity. And then he's returned to the 6 against Sheffield United. Again, that feels like it's working with the theory people are having. Rice plays as a 6 against the teams we should beat and have control against. Bit harder, we get him up the pitch a little bit. But then away at Newcastle, cool, return to the 8. Sevilla at home, he keeps his place as an 8. And then Burnley at home, he keeps his place as an 8 as well. So is this Mikel Arteta reinventing and redefining what he actually thought at the beginning of the summer in terms of the use of this truly, in my opinion, world-class midfielder? Yes, I said it. I think he is world-class. I think he's playing at that level and will continue to. And if you're talking about consistency, just ask West Ham fans. He's absolutely immense. It looks like where West Ham realised that he was starting the 6, but they wanted to let him, have some freedom and move up the pitch. It looks like Arteta's doing a similar thing. Let me show you on the tactical pad what this looks like. Here's the 11 against Burnley. And we move the players up the pitch. This is kind of the build-up shape. We know that when David Raya's got the ball there, those are kind of positions he'll pick up. So Declan Rice will still be in a bit of a double pivot alongside Jorginho and build up. But when Arsenal have got their foot on the ball, they then break out into this kind of shape and Burnley will go press. But what we are seeing a little bit more, and I've touched on Tactical Insight, so if you watch Tactical Insight, you'll know what I'm talking about here. We're seeing a little bit more of this. Zinchenko filling those spaces so that Declan Rice can drop and get into the build-up area as well. In fact, Zinchenko isn't the best option to actually talk about with this. It's been Tomiyasu who's been getting into those pockets, into those half spaces a lot more, so that Declan Rice can stay close to his partner. Jorginho there in build-up, it gives you a lot more in transition, because if Arsenal move, and this isn't the whole time by the way, Rice is still getting into those pockets, but if Arsenal do start to explore these areas of the pitch and Burnley drop into a shape, and they got the 4-4-2 and the centre-backs, so the strikers drop really deep to cover those areas, you've got a really, really good 5 there that can all just protect transition and ensure that if they do win the ball back, Burnley or whoever we're playing against, they can't come the other way just as easily. And the reality is Tomiyasu is a really good interchanging option with Rice, because when he inverts, he also gives you that security. Now, I know that Arteta's always wanted versatility in his players, always. So maybe some of you are watching this going, yeah, cool, Declan Rice can play 2 different roles and he's using them in 2 different roles. What's the big deal? When Mikel Arteta has settled on something for his midfielder, he very, very rarely changes his mind. Martin Ødegaard was a 10, but was brought into a midfield 3 to drift out to the right and combine. How many times have we said, why don't you try him out on the left to combine with Martinelli? Why don't you mix it up? He never does it. Thomas Partey, when he was struggling as a 6, what did people keep saying? He was a box-to-box at Atletico. Let him get up the pitch. He can be our Gundogan. Let him play the Xhaka role up and down. But you haven't seen it. Why? Because he is adamant. He is a 6. Those are the traits he has. And we're going to let Thomas Partey sit at the base and be our playmaker. And then Granit Xhaka, maybe early days, was playing a little bit deeper, but he always had someone alongside him. At the very beginning of Arteta's reign, it was Torreira, then it was a time Guendouzi, then El Neni occasionally. Partey arrived quite quickly, so it was Partey and Xhaka when he could. And Xhaka, though it took him a while to really get up the pitch, he was never left as the lone 6. He was always doing his work out on that left-hand side, and last season he progressed him slightly up the pitch. But it wasn't, it was a slightly drastic change of role, because Xhaka wasn't a box-to-box before, then suddenly he became one. But he wasn't completely reinventing where he used him on the pitch. With Declan Rice, I'd argue he is, because in build-up as a 6, he's playing on the right of the pivot, having to combine with White, Saliba, Ødegaard, Saka, and then out on the left, when he's playing sort of to the left of Jorginho or 6, he's having to get forward a lot more and then build up from the left of the 2 pivots. We've got Jorginho, Rice there, and you see him in this area here. And like I said, otherwise he'd have been over there. If you've got Zinchenko inverting, you get what I'm trying to show you here. So I think this is quite a drastic change from Arteta. I know he did it in the Community Shield, but the consistency at which we're seeing Declan Rice play in that area of the pitch, getting a little bit more forward, driving with the ball, and having a little bit more freedom to press up the pitch and get back. I think firstly is a fantastic use of his engine and his stamina, but is also just an interesting development of his role, even though we're only 12 games in. Now, let's just have a quick look at his FB ref numbers, because it just tells you sort of what a brilliant player he is on the ball as well. I just want to show you some of his passing stats. Little screenshot here from FB ref, and you just got, how highly he ranks for all these things: pass completion, total passing distance. He does have that switch on. He can go from one end of the pitch to the other very quickly. He's doing very good in both short, medium and long-term passes. Expected assisted goals as well. Passes into the final third, 7.57 per game in the 96th percentile, with 6.96 progressive passes. This is an area of Declan Rice's game that doesn't often get the credit it deserves, because people talk about what defensive monster he is, but on the ball, when it comes to progression, he is doing brilliantly as well, and a lot of the numbers tell you that as well. But like we said, he's a defensive animal, and you see it in just some of these small stats as well. He's committed 7 fouls this season, only 7 in 12 games. He has a tackle success rate of 54%. How many yellow cards? None. 0 yellow cards all season for Declan Rice. For someone who covers the ground he does, who presses and drops into a shape, who likes to lunge and get a tackle in there, from a distance, and you think, any other player, you'd think he's not getting to it, but Declan Rice does. It just shows you how elite he is off the ball. And of course, he's had no red cards. Apparently Saliba's had no yellows either. And that's just amazing. That is just really impressive for a team that are focusing a lot more on the defensive side of the game, for a team who are still pressing and trying to get into the opposition, and make their presence felt. The fact that 2 of your key players haven't picked up a yellow all season is pretty phenomenal. But Arsenal's defensive numbers this season are on the up across the board. You've got here tackles per game and a few others. All of these are per game. From last season, 14.9 tackles per game, up to 16.3 this season. Tackles and interceptions combined is up 2.7. Dribblers tackled is up from 6.5 to 8.2. And percentage of aerial duels won, where it was 46.5%, is now up to 49.8%. Arsenal have gone up. These are just a few stats, a few numbers, but when I couple it with what I was saying about our defensive record and everything as well, and just on the eye, you can see that Arsenal are much better defensively, and teams are having to work a lot harder to actually cause them problems and just to get a foothold in the game, because Arsenal are controlling games a lot better. Now it goes to that word control. A lot of people are saying, Mikel Arteta, we're not as fun as last season. Why are we not as expansive? Well, I've got some quotes here from Diego Simeone that I think highlight a little bit why that might be the case. So Diego Simeone was on the radio talking, and I really like what he had to say about English football. Listen to this. He says, if you ask me what style I feel most identified with, well, I like to defend well. We all know that about Simeone. He says, it seems to me that a team has players who play well with the ball and defend well is better than that. Sorry, let me read that again. He says, it seems to me that a team that has players who play well with the ball and defend well is a better team than the rest. In English football, the results of the games are 4-4, 5-3, 6-2, 5-1. That's beautiful for fans. Almost all games are like this, quick transitions, etc., but no team knows how to defend. So I think that in this modern football, something is not done. If you can achieve this and at the same time attack well, I think we will be better. He's basically saying, cool, play your good football, but you got to know how to defend, boys. And this is the thing that I think has been lost about Arteta and what he's trying to do. I don't think he wants to completely kill our attacking fluidity and excitement and everything, but he recognises that if you have defensive issues, which we did last season, you can't hope to compete for the major honours. And Diego Simeone, I like that line. This is great for the fans, 4-4, 5-3. That's great for you all. I know we all want to be entertained, but for a coach, and he doesn't really say this, but I'm sort of reading between the lines, as a coach, is that really what you want? You work on defensive structure and teams and everything. You work on nullifying the opposition, and they score 4 goals. That's not going to feel great, even if you had scored 5 and you looked scintillating on the ball. And this final tweet from Sam Dean to wrap everything up, I think really sums up what Arsenal are trying to do this season and why Declan Rice is crucial to it. Since the 03-04 season, the Premier League champions have scored an average of 85 goals. Last year, Arsenal scored 88, so they bettered the average of most of Premier League champions since the Invincibles. Since that same season, though, the Premier League champions have conceded an average of 29 goals. Last year, Arsenal conceded 43. And he did a piece in the Telegraph explaining Arsenal's defence and why it's improved so much. I just think that tells you so much, people, that yeah, we were outscoring everyone, but we weren't doing our thing at the back to keep teams out. Now, if Arsenal can still get to 80 goals or something this season, but cut down the amount of goals scored, 43 by 15, that's going to make a massive difference. It took, let's be honest, a bit of poor officiating and VAR for us to lose at Newcastle. I don't think we ever deserved to lose that game. And Arsenal are picking up points in every single game, but are in the big ones, whether it's Chelsea where we play poorly, we still stayed in it and enough to then claw out a point. We were able to beat Man City. We've got some big wins away, like Sevilla away and things like that. Arsenal are, and even against Tottenham we didn't play great. We didn't lose. And I know that sounds negative. I know that sounds like, really? Like we spend £105 million on a midfielder? Is that what we're hoping for, that we just don't lose? long term, players like Declan Rice are crucial to what Arteta's trying to do to try and help us win this league finally after 20 odd years. Does that make Declan Rice Arteta's perfect midfielder? He can play as a 6, he can play as an 8, and when he is playing as an 8, he's basically dropping into the 6 as well and doing it all. I think it makes him pretty complete. And like I said, I believe he's world class. But I'd love to know what you all think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out all the content that's coming out throughout this international break. And of course, we'll be back next week to preview the big games and have a little look out for We Come in Peace. Some really good debates happening across this weekend. Catch you on a bit.